finish.
We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live!
We start. Oh, welcome to the Mouthpiece, episode 57, year 2. Today, we're going to talk about my free roll, which was a success in my home game. We're going to talk about, well, we got special guest, 4-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner, Mr. Brian Rast. We're going to talk about poker, some politics, and whatever else is going on. The Mouthpiece is next. What up? What up? Welcome to the Mouthpiece, episode 57, year 2. Well, God, the weeks are flying by. It's been a week since they say that Joe Biden is the president of the United States.
Wrong.
Well, Trump, be quiet there, buddy. Today they had 1 million people march on Washington. It was mostly peaceful. Of course, all the stuff that wasn't peaceful was caused by the typical BLM Antifa fucking protesters. But anyways, it is what it is. The election was pretty fun. I beat Helmuth out of 5,000. He thought that Trump was going to concede by Thursday at 11:15 at night. I mean, this guy might never concede. I don't know what the heck Phil was thinking. So it's good to beat him out of 5,000. That made up. I ended up.
Are you crazy, Phil?
I ended up making like 3,000 off of the election. So, that ended up being pretty good. I have my own opinions on it. People will have some call-ins today, tell me what they think. Having Brian on, he's he leans left, but he's very open-minded. I love people who are open-minded that you can have a normal conversation with. So that's pretty good. I relaunched the Mike Matiso home game this week. We had to regroup because I lost my PayPal account thanks to fucking some idiot. But everything's good now. Yesterday I did a 3K free roll, had 191 people sign up. So that was cool, and the home game's doing really good now. So anybody out there that listen to the podcast that wants to play with me in the home game, 1224 No Limit and PLO, email mouthpoker@yahoo.com. That's mouthpoker@yahoo.com. And for every $250 you deposit, you'll get 200. For every 200 you deposit, you get 250 in chips. There's a possible on the horizon. I might be streaming tournaments on Sundays for ACR. That's not finalized yet. So I'm friends with Phil Nagy. We play in a home game together. So I'm going to start streaming tournaments there, and looks like I'll be doing that every week. We're going to do a trial for a month, see how that goes. That's pretty much the goal right now. So we'll see what happens. The World Series of Poker announcing another main event, so we could have 3 main event champions in 2020. I'm going to say my opinion on it is kind of the same as Dan O'Brien's, which is just another money grab why people are home during COVID. Maybe we'll have 3 or 4 more world champions lined up for this year. It's another online event. It really doesn't make any sense. But you know, listen, if I ran the World Series of Poker, I would shove it up everybody's ass too. They've done it to us for like, let's see, I don't know, started where they got greedy in about '07. So they've been sticking it in our ass for 13 years. Why not stick it a little bit farther, since everybody always has no problem bowing down to them? So listen, if I ran the company, I would do the same thing. I'd say, look at all these fucking idiot poker players. Let's just announce another main event, World Championship. See how much? We're gonna give $1 million back. We're gonna rake $10 million in online, but hey, we're gonna give $1 million back with no overhead. See, they're gonna see this model and see how much money they're making. They'll be like, we don't even have to have a live one anymore. No, they don't. They wouldn't do that. Well, you never know. They might. Wouldn't put anything past them. But no, I'm not knocking Jack or Ty. They're doing what's best. It's a business. So, they say they know poker players are a bunch of suckers. So they'll just keep doing what they need to do. And God bless them. Hey, if I ran a business, I would do whatever I can to expand my business. Also talking about poker a little bit, the Daniel Negreanu Doug Polk match. I don't know if you guys have been watching it. As you know, Daniel played the first one live, 200 hands. The next 3 he got crushed, and the last 2 he crushed. If you're really paying attention, you could really see the adjustments Daniel's made in the last 2 sessions, and it's pretty obvious. And even Doug tweeted out yesterday, it's not that he minds getting stacked and losing 200,000. It's more about the fact that D-Negs is making less and less mistakes, which is what I told you all was going to happen. Daniel is a world-class poker player, and now he's studied, he's put the time in, the GTO time, whatever it takes to win online. I do believe that's going to put him in a spot where it's going to give him an edge. I got 4-1 for 10,000, and I just got 10-1 2 days ago for 2,000 with my good friend Chris Moneymaker. Chris, how's that 20,000 looking over there? Yum, 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 yum. So, no, it's a long ways to go. They're only 5% in. The thing hasn't even started yet. But it's good to see the adjustments Daniel's made. He told me he's pretty confident. Like I said, I'm not saying Daniel's going to win. He doesn't have to win. But when you're getting now a total of 5-1 on somebody you believe might be, I don't know, 2-1 dog at best, maybe $1.50. I mean, you ask Daniel, he thinks he's a favorite. I mean, I think that's a little bit far. But
this is Chris Moneymaker, and you're listening to the Mouthpiece.
Yeah, Chris Moneymaker. Just make sure you got my 20,000 ready, my man. So, anyways, so that's what's going on with that. It's been fun to watch. Gives me a couple hours a day to kind of focus. I definitely felt Daniel was a little passive on the turn, and last 2 days he's changed that. Now it also could be because of cards, but if anybody knows anything about poker, could see the adjustments he's made. So me and Brian will probably talk about that. Let's see. We're gonna have not our hand of the week, but we're gonna have our pick of the week in football. We won last week to go to 4-5 with the Bills. I'm gonna go ahead and we could do the pick of the week after, I guess. So we're 4-5 on the week. Flashy, my little 19-year-old caddy, he misses all the action. What's up, Flash? Say hi to everybody. Hello, he's a star. God, you're getting old, little buddy, but you just jump up, you act like you're like 2. You have so much energy. so much. Yeah, we know. Are you gonna walk on my computer? What are you gonna do, buddy? All right, be a good boy. Good boy. So, anyways, there wasn't much going on this week. So we had the Daniel challenge. We got Trump challenging everybody in court. We got nothing really much going on. They were filming Poker After Dark this week. I didn't like the lineup, so I ended up not playing. They want me to play tomorrow, which I probably would have. They didn't just text me right now on my sleep schedule. I've been going to bed around 8 in the morning and waking up around 2 in the afternoon. So, basically speaking, I don't. It's tough to play when you're not rested. They want me to go there 9:30 in the morning for a COVID test and then play at 2:30 in the afternoon. So I don't think I'm going to, but we'll see. I mean, I might change that mind. So anyways, that's what's going on there. Let's not waste no more time. Let's did you get Brian Rast on in here and we'll talk to him. And what can I say? It's been a very slow week for me. I haven't really done much except fucking lay in bed and shit. There's really not much to watch. No politics anymore. No sports except Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. I mean, this is brutal. You want to talk about brutal fucking boredom? That's what my life is right now. But my home games started back up, and so I'm playing there at least a couple hours a day. Email mouthpoker@yahoo.com. Receive $250 in chips for 200 on your initial deposit. So, so we're doing that. I'm going to see if how that works out the next month. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going to move on to other ventures. The home game was so strong for about 3 months. And then, you know how it always goes in poker. So the good players beat up all the bad players go broke. And then the next thing you know, you're sitting with the 8 or 9 of the best players. I mean, it's just what always happens. So, but right now we got a good influx of new players. So the games are good. I played till like 2 in the morning last night, I think. Well, I was up like 400 in the 1-2 game, and then we did a $20 bomb pop. I lost it, and then the next thing you know, and then the bomb pop, this guy lost like 250 in the pot, right? So then somebody opens for 8, and then he just moves in for 148, and I just re-raise with ace king, and somehow after the guy opened for 8 and he moved in for 148, he had kings. I flopped an ace and it ran out 4 spades, and I ended up quitting for the night. Anyways, I think we got Brian Rast on the line. Brian, what's up, buddy?
Not much.
How are you? It's good to see you.
In Vegas, chilling. What's going on?
Yeah, nothing much, man. How's poker life going? You playing much?
No. This is the least I've played poker since I started playing. I mean, since the very beginning, even when I was in college before I dropped out.
Wow.
I haven't played as little as I played this year. So
yeah, me neither. The last 2 months, I have played the least amount of poker I've played in my life, actually. And so it is what it is. Listen, I'll talk to you a little bit about poker. So
yeah,
I consider you one of the best players in the world. A lot of people don't know you. They don't understand. I used to literally back in the day chase you around full tilt in the mixed games because you were so bad. And then you became one of the best in the world. How did you learn all the games and become so good so fast?
Well, I mean, I've always been a curious person. I've always liked learning.
Yeah.
There's not really, especially with the mixed games, there's definitely just not a trick. I jumped in. The very first, you played with me when my very, very first mix action, which was obviously online. I was a no limit hold'em player.
Right.
And I was one of the early guys to jump into PLO.
Right.
Where I was fish at first and actually lost some money at first taking lessons, but then, added PLO to my repertoire. And then, there were times I was bored and would jump in the mixed games. And obviously I'd basically never played them before at that point.
Right.
So I'm sure I was juicy.
You were.
And then it was just kind of something I did once in a while. And then maybe I'd play a couple WSOP tournaments. And then at some point, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, I started jumping in the Bobby's Room game.
Right.
Kind of going off the experience I had, feeling a little good because I kind of won the Players Championship, even though the final table was in, table was in No Limit Hold'em, which was great for me.
Right.
And then I just kind of learned by fire. I mean, playing in the Bobby's Room game, there's some amazing players there. Guys who, well, obviously my weakest games were the upcard games, stud, Rast, those kind of things, because that was a totally different concept to flop games. And I'm learning from some of the best. There's amazing stud players in the Bobby's Room game, like Hennigan and Oppenheim and just all those guys.
Absolutely.
So that's it, really. I mean, in fact, as far as I'm concerned, the advent of really solvers in the last 5 years has been very bad for me. Because I think 5 years ago, especially in No Limit Hold'em, I was probably better than what people thought looking back. Because I think some of maybe the top players didn't give me as much respect as maybe I deserved. But truth is I haven't been working that hard on my game solver wise. Maybe that'll change at some point. Who knows? But yeah.
A lot of people, I know solvers and stuff was important in online No Limit Hold'em. Do you think it's that much more important playing live cash or no?
Well, for mixed, no. And that's why I'm mostly a mixed game player now.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But for No Limit Hold'em, yeah. I mean, if you're in a soft game, no, it's not that important. But it's let me put it this way. Imagine that you just baseline of how you're supposed to play spots. And now, not only do you now see what other people are doing differently, so now you know more precisely how much, what errors they're making and what spots, you then know from where to adjust what you should be doing. So it's GTO, knowing GTO if you're really good is never going to hurt you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's a complicated thing to know. No one's ever going to be able to know and do it perfectly, but it's a great thing to learn and to be a great way to establish a baseline for your game.
Yeah.
That'd be the way to put it. So
I just started working on a lot of GTO to put in, and I do notice that somebody that has talent that knows how to read people really well, when you add GTO to the game and you really will play Doug head up. Have you watched any of that match?
Only the first 200 hands live.
Right. Okay. So
I watched those hands.
Yeah. So Daniel struggled the first 3 online matches with Doug, and it was pretty obvious he looked like he was outclassed. I know for a fact that he is.
Let me jump in. I'll tell you, I bet on Daniel.
Yeah.
I got 4.5 to 1 or something.
Yeah, me too.
Not much, pretty small. But after watching the live 200 hands, I would have canceled my bets.
Right.
It looked I'm just being honest, it looked like Daniel had some pretty obvious leaks that I would expect Doug to pick up on and exploit. Now, maybe Daniel's going to fix those, maybe not, but they were seemed like they were big enough that I was not happy with my bet, my bet was but here's the thing. They're only playing a couple hundred hands at a time. Daniel has a long time to keep studying. So
and
he
it
sounds
has
like Daniel's caught up.
Yes.
I don't know, who knows, the results aren't anything, and I'm not watching anything, so I can't comment on the play.
Gotcha.
But
yeah. So I after he got pretty on the first 3 sessions, people were like, he's got no chance. And then you could see the adjustments he's made the last 2 days. Now, running better has helped, but Daniel is playing the turn much better than he was. I thought he was a little bit weak passive before. I I texted with him last night, and he's putting, without giving away anything, he's putting in the work. Playing 200 hands and then spending 6-7 hours a day analyzing those hands, 200-300 hands. So I expect him, to really adjust really well over the next couple weeks. He's very confident. And, as you know, all poker players are going to be really confident. So I listen, I like my bet. I didn't like it, like you said, maybe after the first 3-4 sessions. What I've watched lately, I know we're going to have a chance for sure. And getting
money isn't the source of happiness.
Yeah.
So I bet another 2,000 at 10-1. So I got 10,000 at 4-1, 2,000 at 10-1. So overall, I've got 12 to win 60. So I'm getting 5-1. And we're not. I don't believe we're 5-1 dog. So, I like our chances there. So, so you haven't been playing much.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say it's interesting you said the thing about the turn because I only watched those 200 hands.
Right.
But what stood out the most to me in those 200 hands, where there was a couple times where I thought I didn't like the way Daniel played the hand, was his just general weak play on the turn. Let's call folding times. I think there was one time he folded middle pair where I would sort of be surprised if heads up, that's the standard play even. Like I would have guessed, I can't even remember the hand, but there was just some time where it was like Doug bet the flop and then bet the turn. And I would guess middle pair's supposed to call, at least most of the time. And he folded. But then, other times where he was just playing very passively. And so I'm not saying in like every single one of those times he made the wrong play, but overall it just felt like his turn play was like weak and off. So that's why was my read too.
Yeah. And it looks like he's adjusted that the last 2 sessions. And so, we'll see what happens. It's so funny. It's like, somebody who's a great player like you and I know you have a lot more no limit experience than I do. I have more maybe tournament no limit experience, which, tournament and cash are way to that. So, I think we're going to have a good shot. So let's just hope. And listen, so you learned all the mixed games. I look back at the second 50K Players Championship you won. I told everyone you were going to win it. And it was not because of anything. It was because I saw you with just something I'd never seen. Because you're an aggressive. Look at Rast. He's just sitting there. He's patient. He's focused. He's patient. I'm like Eric Wasserman and Mike Mizrachi are getting into it, and he's just patient and caught a little bit of a rush, and you went on to win it. And I think it was probably okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's the deal?
Oh yeah, I don't know. Don't worry about it. Do you think that that final table was one of the best you ever played, if not the best?
Well, so let me give you a little backstory for that. There's some story to this that maybe isn't that well known, although it's not like a secret.
Okay.
So, at this point, I had already been playing the Bobby's Room game some, and I think Timex put out these like odds, and you could bet on everyone and lay a price, and like my price was like 1.15.
Okay.
Or something where like all these guys in Bobby's Room were like 1.3, 1.4, 1.45 or 5 for the top guys. And I was just like, listen, I get it. It's hard to rank the entire field and you can never expect anybody to do it right. But it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, this is like just blatantly disrespectful to me. And it's wrong. I think I'm actually plus EV at this because I don't think I might be one of the highest EV guys in the field right now because I have a bunch of tournament no limit experience and tournament experience that the other Bobby's Room guys don't have.
Right.
And I'm like better at the mixed games than not everyone, but like a lot of people in the field. And I guess like Timex doesn't realize that. So I booked the maximum with him by myself. And then I booked someone else two people like drafted a team, like Matt Kirk and Timothy, and neither of them drafted me. So I'm like, hey, can I take myself against your team? And because you didn't draft me, like give me minus 105 or plus 105 or something against everybody. So like Kirk took the bet. So I basically had a bunch on myself, and some other people wanted pieces of me, and they're like my friends. And I'm like, listen, guys, here's the deal. I don't want to sell you guys pieces at face like I normally would, like a little sweat piece, because I'm like, I bet more than 2x extra at myself paying markup. So if you want a piece of me in this, like you guys got to buy out of the markup pieces. And so like Antonio was like, fine, give me whatever. So, Antonio took like half of both of those bets, and I sold like a tiny little bit to a couple other people. And basically I had something like 50 or 60% extra on myself. So I came into that tournament, and I normally don't care about the WSOP events that much and hate playing day ones. And I even even for the 50K, I normally don't show up in the first couple levels because it's like they don't matter.
No, they don't.
But on that 50K, I showed up minute one. I was focused as fuck the entire tournament because I had this extra on myself. And it's just like that thing where I'm like, I'm going to play my best because I'm going to just fucking, it's weird. It's not myself up like Michael or anything like that, but it's like you watch, you get it. Like when you do something again and again and again, you got to find ways to get yourself up to it. So now I'm not as like insanely competitive as Michael Jordan, but I can tell you that throughout that entire tournament, and I like McDonald a lot. Like I talk to him on Telegram all the time. He's a cool guy, but I'm just like, fuck Timex. I'm going to show him this tournament. Cause it's like, you got to like, here's the thing about poker that people don't realize. Like for me to play my A game is not showing up and playing hands and not being tilted. That's like my B game.
Right.
My A game is showing up and watching every motherfucking hand and watching people and like getting reads and like pre-planning and pre-adjusting and there. And when I'm playing my A game, I'm fucking really good.
I know.
But it's hard to be on your A game, like literally not looking at your phone, focused on every hand the entire time when you do something. That's hard. And like maybe it's a little bit easier when you're playing Monster Big or at a final table, but doing it for 5 days in a tournament the whole time is tough. But just being on that bet and being like, fuck these, I'm going to show these guys 1.15 cross booking, laying plus 105 against me. It helped me get psyched up. So I was really on my A game for almost that entire tournament. And I thought I played like really good.
I know. So. And you just hit right on the nose. Like, so, after, my injury and, it took me a couple of years to start getting back on my feet. People are writing me off as brain dead, can't win, can't play, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like you just said, I'm like, fuck these motherfuckers. I know how good I play. You know what I mean? I just had, after losing, all my money and not being able to get back in action, it just looked bad. But then, even though I didn't win, I mean, the last 3 years I've got 6 final tables, 26 cashes out of 53 events. And it's, even as much as you want, you still got to run good at the final table and not be unlucky. Yeah. But I understand because the focus I had, especially I think it was 2 years ago, 20 when I made those 3 10K final tables. Yeah, that was 2018. I was on a mission, man. It's like people are like when people. That's the thing is we've been in this business a long time, and people don't understand how easy it is to get burned out playing poker. But when people light a fire under you, man, does it. I was waking up every day saying I am gonna fuck every one of these motherfuckers in the ass that fucking just think I can't play no more or whatever. And listen, I've done really well since. So I understand the trying to prove some people wrong. A lot of people, it's hard to say, most people are always knocking everybody. Oh, he sucks. Oh, he's not that good. Oh, he's this, right? But it's like Ted Forrest used to always tell me, everybody compares their A game to the other person's F game, right? When they see him play bad one day. So, but I know how good you play the mixed games. I know how good you play, and it's good to see you become such a great player because, it just goes to show you, hard work pays off, man. You just like it just does, So You know,
Yeah.
I watched that and I was telling everybody, I was pulling for Mike because Mike was my friend and all, but I said, Mike ain't going to win. What do you mean he's not going to win? I go, he's not going to win. I'm like, look how sloppy he's playing. That one point, I think it was 2.9 million he gave Eric Wasserman when Eric Wasserman made the flush with Jack 9 and he had 10-4 offsuit. He had all the chips. He just didn't need to get involved and risk any big checks. And he was just, he had 9.4 million in chips. I think you had 1.1, and I think he finished fourth or something. But I saw your focus. The focus you had was amazing. I told everyone you were going to win, and you did. And
well, I mean, obviously there's some luck involved. So no matter how fired up I'm going to get up to play my A game, you have to get lucky. But
of course.
I remember I played a lot of really good hands at that final table and made the most out of what I was given, which,
Right.
Especially like a lot of people are more familiar with ICM stuff with no limit, but how it applies to mixed games, I think it's really goofily applied a lot of times. And I think I kind of managed the short stack pretty well. I even had like a hand that solvers would now say I fucking crushed, but it was some hand where it was like Mizrachi raised and then like the small blind called and I just like shipped for 30 blinds like Jack 10 suited or something, which I mean 2000 nobody was doing that. But
right.
That's like look on a 30 big blind pre-flop solver now and it's like that's actually the standard play. It's like one of the hands you ship there. So
right.
It's like, I just was and obviously I didn't have a pre-flop chart for that. That was just me in the moment being like, okay, I've been playing pretty tight. This guy opens a lot. The small blind probably can't call me. So, and this is a hand it's like pretty good to do it with. I was just playing really good and, didn't get unlucky. Things worked out, got lucky and made the most of it. So it was gratifying, man.
It's funny you say that, that was before the solvers and stuff were out. And it kind of, applies a lot to my game. Now, I've literally never studied a solver in my life. I've been studying a little bit of this GTO recently, just to try and get a little bit better. But like you said, like you're playing really tight. The guy's opening a lot, and that's kind of like what I do is like I use my image. You play tight, you play tight, you play tight. You see a spot, and whether it's Jack 10 offsuit, 8-7, whatever, and you just go with it, and there's so much to using your image where they don't know it to pick up chips without risking anything. Where the solvers are so much about what you do here, what you do there. You see what I'm trying to say? And so, when you said that, it makes total sense. Listen, I watched you when.
I think there's been a lot of things that have been come out that people were doing like many years ago that, some things people were doing were bad and other things people were doing were ahead of their time. Like
right.
Pre-flop out of position, mini raises from the small blind that was happening like 8 or 9 years ago became in vogue. Like these weird things. I mean, that's horrible. In fact, solvers were telling everybody to go even bigger. And he's like, late position versus big blind spots. Now solvers are going like 4x plus. But something that, someone like Prahlad and people were pioneering 15 fucking years ago with this like turn and river, like over bets where you're like have the nuts or you're bluffing. Like, solvers have basically loved that shit. So, some people were like way ahead of their time, so.
Well, like 2 years ago, Daniel was telling me we were talking like GTO and solvers, and he was asking me, he goes, he starts saying, I'm like, over betting the river. I go, dude, I've been over betting the river since 2000. I'm like, you mean you haven't been over betting the river all these years? And he's like, no. And I was like, I've always overbet the river. I mean, when I sometimes make a 2x pot on the river. You know what I'm saying? Whether I'm bluffing or not, because you don't want, people, the old people used to think, well, who's going to call you? Well, yeah, who's going to call you? You're right. That allows you to throw so many bluffs in there. So when Daniel told me that he had just 2 years ago that he just started overbetting the river, I was like, wow, I've been doing it since 2000. So, Yeah, but I watched you the first 50K that you won against Phil, and you were not near as experienced in the other games. You were at No Limit Hold'em, and yeah, I've talked about this with Phil. I thought the first flush draw, he had such a big chip lead. He's definitely supposed to go with. I thought the second one was terrible, and the third one was terrible, and I'm sure you'll agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, the way I feel about that, not critiquing Phil's specific play, is I was actually I know that like I got whittled down early on, but I mean, for example, one of the biggest hands I lost was a hand where I was like really reaching deep, and I was basically fucking played the hand perfectly. It was some hand where I had middle pair on a flop that was something like 10-7-4 or some remember. Shit. And he check called like a half pot size bet, and then the turn was like a queen or a king, right? So it was like above the board, a card that probably didn't help him. Right. And he checked, and I bet, and he made this like big motherfucking raise. Right. And I was just like, I had fucking like third pair at this point, and it's Phil Hellmuth, right? Like not the guy known to make like a ton of moves, but I was just like, man, fuck this guy. Like I think he's like the way he made this, he's repping like he just hit the kings up.
You're too good. Phil Hellmuth, you're too good.
Go ahead.
Chances that he doesn't have it here because I'm like, I think he might have a straight draw. So I just hung on. And then on the river, like an 8 hit, which is like the worst card ever for like, I have like ace 7 or jack 7 or some shit. Right. So then, then he goes all in, and I'm like, well, like what could he possibly even be bluffing with now? Now he just made a straight. He had like 5-6 and made the straight, right? So, I mean, but so like that was a hand you were right. Literally going to own his soul.
You were right on the turn. He made the straight on the right.
And then I got away with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the truth is like most cards come on the river. Like basically I was going to play the hand right because I didn't call the check raise on the turn to fold the river on a blank. Now, Phil's a person who might have definitely given up. So, but it still would have been like a massive pot, and he wouldn't have had this huge chip lead, right? So I thought I played pretty well there. I was pretty happy with it, but then just the way it went, then I got lucky. There's no way to put it. Even though I was a small favorite on all 3 pots, I got lucky to win all 3 of them.
Well, so, of course.
I've lost once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that was fun. That was. Do you have the moment in your career where that was like the only moment in my career where I was like legitimately lost my shit after winning something like with the celebration?
Oh yeah.
Jumped up, went over, hugged my rail. It's the only time in my career it's ever happened. Was that moment.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of, I was there. It was, you're my friend, but Phil's my close friend, and there was a lot of people at that final table were my friend, and it's like it's one thing about people don't understand. The poker community is a pretty close knit group. There's so many people that when we're out, we always pull for, and when we're in, it's nobody wants to. Everybody loves everybody pretty much. It's war at the tables, but there's a good group of people. But I know beating Phil and watching him go crazy is it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I remember like it was yesterday.
Poker knew who I was before that. Yeah. I mean, like maybe if you had your nose to the grindstone and you knew guys who were playing decent sized cash games, you would have known me. But like I hadn't done anything in tournaments yet. I was a lot younger. So
you've won 250Ks and what? You've won 4. What was the other one? A PLO and a no limit?
I won. So that year when I won against Phil, I won like a 1,500 pot limit hold'em.
A pot limit
earlier, which wasn't even on like the main table, so it wasn't. Wow. It wasn't even for that much money, really. So that's why I was like, even though that was my first bracelet, I didn't get the whole joy, like whoa, feeling after I won. And so then I won the 250Ks, and I won the 10K no limit deuce, I think in 16.
Oh yeah, that's right, yeah. So you said you're not playing much poker now. What are you doing with yourself?
I've been exercising. I've been reading, watching TV, following Bitcoin, doing a little trading, hanging out with my wife.
Sweet.
Just, enjoying life, man.
Dude, that's what you're supposed to do. And, I look back at the days when I had all the money, and I wish I was a little bit cocky, and I wish I would have, been a little bit more responsible because, listen, poker, you can make a lot of money in poker, but there comes a point in life where, playing big stakes poker, the swings take a big toll on you. And, once you got yourself a lot of money, why do you want to put yourself through so much of it? And I don't know if that's what you think. That's what goes through my mind. Does that have an effect on you not playing as much right now, or what?
I mean, I don't know. It's like, listen, I like playing. I like being under pressure. I like the way that makes things clear and that feeling you get when you're in the moment. Yeah. I mean, the financial pressure, I feel like I'm pretty good overall at kind of having an idea about like where I stand and what I'm doing. Right. Which is why you kind of, I don't know if you noticed, but if anybody noticed, but it's like at some point a couple of years ago, I kind of stopped playing the No Limit Hold'em tournaments after playing them for many years, like all the high rollers. And then I just quit because I knew like, I'm not studying solvers, not that I never look at one. Listen, I have PO Solver on my computer and I've looked at it. But, I know people, and I know the guys who were like rising to the top, right? I know they're like doing many hours a week. They got their like group study sessions. They don't even have PO Solver, but they have their own like private fucking software in their groups and everything. And I would look at a couple hands in PO here or there, right? Like I'm not keeping up with them. And it's like, it's okay. I'll just take a step back and I'm playing mixed games. It's fine. I'll stop playing No Limit Hold'em tournaments. Like, I mean, I'm proud of like what I've accomplished and I have confidence when I play, but like, I try not to let ego get there. And, it was awesome for like, maybe 3 or 4 years there where I was literally playing the biggest with anyone in any game mostly. I'm not saying like heads up, but like I was playing the biggest No Limit Hold'em ring tournaments. I'd play in like big No Limit Hold'em cash games. I'd play in all the biggest mixed games. And it's like, well, I kind of had to step off the horse with the No Limit Hold'em tournaments now because it's, I'm just being realistic about it. And
well, I agree.
It's like maybe I could hop back on the horse, but I haven't so far. If I find the right situation, maybe I will. I don't know.
Yeah, and I like I said, if the solvers are not when you play like a WPT event, or Borgata event, a regular size tournament where you're playing these big fields with people that are not like that don't do solvers and stuff, your skill is going to give you a chance. Like I've had a chance to win like 3 of the last 4 WPTs. I mean, I was down to the last 3 tables of all of them. So it's not near as important than when you're playing the high. When you're playing the high rollers, it's just a whole different animal, and it's something that I just never really had any interest in. I like playing mixed games. I like playing the WSOP events, and I get myself in some good juicy no limit cash games that have couple fish in it, and you don't have to work as hard. And poker is supposed to be fun. I don't know if it's like you say, all these people that put in all these hours studying solvers. I mean, is it really fun? Every time I go play poker, I want to have fun.
For me, no. In fact, that's part of the reason why I've avoided that. Is like I'm a person who likes learning by doing,
right?
And then while doing, then I'll think about it. I'll think about it as I'm doing it. Maybe I'll do a little work on my own, or I'll talk to someone. Right? It's not like saying I'm not doing anything, but it's like now, really, for No Limit Hold'em, the optimum study path, if you really wanted to be like efficient with your time, is probably doing half the time away from the table and half the time playing.
Right?
Because like you have such good tools now to study the game. And it's just like, man, I don't want to fucking do that. Like, I'm not saying I wouldn't if I had to make a living, but like, I just don't have to do that right now. And so I'm not going to. And if that means I got to change my playing schedule, then that's what's going to happen, because ultimately I got into poker because it's fun and I can make money doing it. And like, I'm like a weird person. Like, fun is like learning, but it's learning by doing, not learning by studying. Like that was one of the things that never appealed to me, say, about chess, was there's a lot of study involved with chess, also, because it's like there's so much theory that like has already been discovered about how to play. And the thing that was so awesome about poker that's like kind of like we're losing it a little bit is that there wasn't this whole theory. Like, sure, there were the books, like, but if you go back 15, 20 years ago, the books that were available were pretty simple. Stuff like Super System and these books. I mean, once you got any good, those books were like a joke almost, right? Like, like the best players were talking to each other and just like you had your own theories or whatever. But like what was in the books was like, yeah, okay, play that way, sure. Like, what, can I play with you? So.
No, I agree with you. What's that? Okay, so before we open up the phone lines, let me we're gonna switch the subject a little bit. So we're both kind of politically involved. I was I'm a Trump supporter because I lean to the right, but a lot of things Trump's done over the last 4 years really bothered me a lot. I have no problem telling people. There's a big difference between supporting somebody because you support their policies and supporting somebody because you support them. I mean, everybody can, and the thing that I respect about you, and I wanted to talk a little bit about you is we were talking the other day, and we were going to bring this up, is the fact that people are so much in their bubble right now, like, oh, this is the right side, this is the right side, and then when Trump's sitting there right now, like saying contesting, he wants an audit the count, and you said, yeah, if Joe Biden, really feels he won, why is he against auditing the count, which is how I feel, and you were attacked by everyone on the left, and you're on the left. Kind of explain to the audience, like what, how you feel about that, and where you feel about the election we just had.
Sure. So let me start by doing a little intro, which is like, I know I get like thrown in the left, and yeah, I mean, I voted for Joe Biden.
Right.
But I mean, dude, man, I've taken, political quizzes on, say, isidewith.com. You should check it out. If you're listening, it's great. You do these like complicated quizzes that tells you exactly kind of where you feel and where you match up. I'm really kind of like a left libertarian, so to speak. Like, I'm kind of economically conservative, definitely socially liberal,
right? Me
a
too.
bit leaning towards stuff like decentralization or whatever. And so it's like the things that I tweet about, for example, is like Bitcoin and politics now, not even poker. But just so when it comes to this election, it's like, we not arguing about where everybody stands, but it's like, listen, I tweet a whole bunch of different things. Like, I don't like the far left. I don't like the whole cancel culture.
Yeah,
like
me either.
Telling people what they can and can't say. Like, I've tweeted McWhorter, who's like a black guy who's against the anti-racist movement. Like, I don't like the anti-racist movement. I think like
me neither.
You shouldn't. I just don't like the whole thing. I feel like it's not only it enables, but it puts people. And I think it's part of the reason why someone like Trump is so popular.
Exactly.
I think like Sam Harris really put this into context when he's like, listen, who's Trump's like number one demographic? It's like white males. Okay. And it's white males who, on the one side, you got the left telling them that, listen, not only are you a racist motherfucker because you're white, and not only like are you responsible for your own sins in life, but you're responsible for your great-great-grandfather's sin of slavery. So get down and bend the fucking knee. And I was just like, wow, that's so. And you juxtapose that with Trump, who's like, no one's ever going to think Trump is moralizing to them.
Right.
Trump is like a, go back to your shitholes countries, no apologies, like, fuck you, Jesus.
Yeah.
And like, no one's ever going to think he's telling them what to do. And so it's like, I'm just going to say it, simplistic white people are like, great. Like, I can either get told I'm a motherfucker or be like, fuck yeah, fuck everybody with Trump. So like a lot of those people are going to be like, fuck everybody with Trump. No, I don't like Trump at all. I actually dislike him personally a lot. Like, what he's doing is not appealing to me.
Me too. But I voted for him because of what you just said. I don't want to be told. See, this is what I'll give you an idea. Like about 2 years ago, when Prahlad, who knows nothing about politics, started jumping in it on Twitter, right? And I'm like, dude, do you think 63 million people are racist? And he said, yes. I'm like, dude, you're brainwashed. I'm like, there's not 63 million. You have to ask yourself, and now this year, 73 million people voted for Trump. Why did they vote for Trump? Now, I give you an idea. And I went to dinner in December with Eugene Kachaloff. And in 2016, like we went to dinner and then he starts talking pro-Trump stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, weren't you like on the far left in 2016? He goes, yeah. He goes, in 2016, I cried when Hillary lost. But then I woke up the next day and I asked myself, how could 63 million people vote for this guy? I'm a really smart guy. What am I missing here? And, then he realized that a lot of stuff he's being told, the media is very phony. They lie about every little thing to form a narrative to fit what they're looking for. And it kind of opened him up to what's going on in the world. Now, this is a lot kind of like what you were just saying. 73 million people have voted for Trump. Why did they vote for Trump? And people need to ask themselves, instead of saying, and this is the Democrats' whole problem, why, unless they change, I can never support them, is 73 million people voted for a guy. Why are you demonizing them as racist, xenophobes, hate all this shit? The more you say that, the more they're going to hate you for it, because most people are good people. You know that. So I see you learn that a little bit. What do you say to these viewers and these poker players that are just so uneducated that just listen? I really appreciate that you go out there and try and learn why. And I did that in 2016. So
here's the problem, man. The problem is that everybody wants to judge everyone else. And it's like, as you go through life, you mistakes, and the people you love forgive you, and you forgive the other people you love who fuck up and make mistakes. Of course, man, I can't judge people, and I'm definitely not going to judge someone because the color of their skin or where they're from. That's retarded, man. You go under the epidermis, which is thin as fuck, and everybody's the same. So it's like people want to do this, and it's like what the left is doing is also judging people ahead of time. Like, you're judging everybody who votes for Trump when, there's people who vote for him because they're just pro-life and they're just accepting everything else, you know? Yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why people vote that aren't necessarily because they're racist, and everybody has a different order of values. Now, I'm not trying to defend it. Right. I actually didn't vote for Trump, and I actually don't agree with I actually think Trump is pretty dangerous. Yeah. And I know people are like, well, he does a lot of good stuff, and you're just biased against who he is. And I don't really buy that. But I mean, I think the problem and what you're asking about is it's just people got to stop judging each other. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Nobody knows where anyone comes from. And you can't just make these blanket statements about everybody everybody who, likes Trump is racist and everybody who's white is racist. I mean, that's insane. It's insane. To me, that's just insane.
Just basic common sense. I mean, that's all I ask people is common sense,
Yeah. I mean, just get to know people. You haven't walked through their shoes, right? Yeah. Just don't be an asshole. And it's don't be an asshole in life. Try to give people some love and understanding. And if you want, talk and have a conversation with them, don't judge people because of, of shit that you don't even know. Judge someone for what they've done. Yeah. Right. You got to take everybody individually and just realize. And it's listen, everybody's going to have biases because that's just the way life is. Right. And you got to work on yourself with your own personal biases in life and just try to evolve every day, mentally, physically, spiritually. It's life is about that change and trying to embrace it and become a better person. And, some people are on that journey and other people aren't. Yeah. And I'm just going to do the best for myself and the people I love and try to make good decisions and help people out when I can. That's and so whoever fits that. More than my mom, dude, my mom is just going to say it. My mom is a big time Trump supporter who's fallen down the QAnon rabbit hole to a certain extent with the globalist elites. And I'm just I love my mom. She was a great fucking mom to me. She gave me so much love growing up. And I'm just it's my sister can't talk to my mom. And I'm just well, that's never going to happen with me. I love my mom. She's actually a good person. I don't believe all this stuff that's she's warping her mind right now. But I don't care about that. I love my mother, and I'm just not going to talk politics with her. Right.
And you know what? It's listen, I know the globalist elites. I'm not down that QAnon. I didn't even know what QAnon was. I follow hundreds of white-wing people, and I had no idea what QAnon was, honestly. So when Trump says, "What do you mean you don't know what QAnon was?" I truly believe that he didn't know what QAnon is. I believe he might now because I didn't know what QAnon is, and I follow all these people. But the thing is here's. Andrew Barber and me, we were on the with Matt Glantz. We were doing the election night special with they have the little show Market Mania. It's a lot of fun. And he asked me what it would take for me to not support Trump. And I said, it's not about supporting Trump. And maybe you can understand what I'm saying because I know you read a lot. I said, it's about supporting a party that I know the media is in the tank for, that is literally lie after lie after lie. Like, listen, is Trump a flawed person? 100% he's a flawed person, right? Does he do things that are just ridiculous? Yes. Okay. But then you watch the media. I can't tell you how many times I've watched Trump make a speech or say something at his rally, and then I'll turn on left-wing media and they spin it into a narrative of something that was never said. And that's why
fake news.
Let me cut you off and ask you a question, Mike, because this cuts both ways. There's biased media on both sides.
Oh, absolutely. Fox is the
you
worst.
created a situation where you will never really be against Trump, not because of the content of what Trump does, which you're disagreeing with, but by the mere fact that people who are biased on the other side are reporting it biasly. Well, that's always going to happen with today. I mean, you've seen Social Dilemma, the documentary.
Right, yes.
Like, this is going to happen. It's going to happen both ways, by the way. It'd be like saying, I don't like what Obama's doing, but because the right-wing media and Fox News reports it like shit and is biased, I'm going to give Obama a pass, right? Now, I'm not saying I feel that way, but that's the counter. That's like the mirror image of your because give a fuck what the biased media says. You just judge someone based on their actions, like, you know, because like you're a smart guy, so judge it based on their actions and forget what the left-wing media says, like, because who cares?
And so
what do you feel about that?
And another thing is kind of like where I kind of stuck by him here, even though, and literally I listen, there's a lot of people that follow me that are big Trump supporters that watch the show, and like they're big time MAGA people, and they think he can't do anything wrong or whatever. But like, I went into that voting booth, I went like that, I held my nose and I just pushed it for Trump, and it really has a lot to do with these far left policies that, I mean, are just insane. Like what kind of country can you have with open borders? What kind of country can you have with defund the police? What kind of country can you have with every time, unfortunately, some unarmed black person is accidentally killed by the police, that you riot and tear down the entire country? And, you know, when an unarmed white person is killed, which there was 19 of them last year, you didn't hear nothing about it on the media. But you hear about it every 4 years during an election year to get the black base angry, and they just tear the country apart. And I just can't stand the media. I think the media, for this country to survive, the media needs to be held accountable. And they know, now we're going to switch the subject a little bit. They know that Trump has every constitutional right to make sure for his voters that the election was secure. Now, if it was any other year, it wouldn't be a problem. But people are like, oh, there's never been a problem in before. Well, why is it rigged now? Well, there's 100 million mail-in ballots, and you have to have a signature check. And I knew when they announced mail-in ballots that Trump had no chance of winning. Now, you on Twitter, you know, lately, you've called out people like, hey, for the good of the country, for 73 million people, to make sure their vote wasn't stolen, let's just have a audit. Let's just make sure all the votes are secure or whatever, and you've been attacked for it. I think this is where I agree with you. Explain to the viewers, like, when I say this, the difference between a normal election and an election in COVID with 100 million mail-in ballots instead of 2 or 3, you know?
So I definitely want to do that, and I think this is an important conversation, especially because I've been talking about it on Twitter. I want to do a really quick aside here to clarify my view on this whole thing that we were just talking about, because I feel like I need to at this point. I mean, listen, I'm not saying that, like, oh, I'm pro McWhorter or what he's talking about and anti-racism and this and like, you know, and I don't really like the Black Lives Matter movement, but I'm not trying to say that I don't think there's been a problem with institutional racism in America. Like, I do think so, and I think it has like some pretty grave long-term economic consequences. For
I agree.
example, I really like the documentary 13, which is about the
I
13th
saw it.
Amendment.
I saw it.
And
Good,
I think
good
it's like,
documentary.
but I don't really like necessarily some of the stuff that the BLM movement is doing, but it's not because I don't think there's a problem with institutional racism and whatever, but I just, it's a very complicated argument. And I would say at this point, if you really want to know more of what I think, some of the stuff that like McWhorter and Sam Harris have said on it, like I agree with. But I just want to put that out there right now that I'm not just like, oh, I'm a white guy and I just think like, you know, black people have just no problems in America and everyone's
No, of
equal.
course.
Like,
I'm with you.
Okay, but I don't necessarily like the movement and some of the ways it's been co-opted. And there's a lot of people who have spoken very eloquently about this, and I don't want to take over the podcast to talk about it. But just listen to, you know, McWhorter or whatever. So now re-ask your question again, because I'll now answer that.
Yeah. The fact that okay, so we have never had an election with 100 million mail-in ballots. Okay.
Yeah.
With mail-in ballots, you have to, in most states, you have to apply for them, absentee ballot. They have to be signature checked. You put the mail-in ballot in, and they're signature checked. Now, I believe that a lot, and now, do I believe enough to overturn the election? No, but it could be that there was a lot of these ballots that the signatures don't match because they were mass sent out to people that move. Everybody knows the voter rolls aren't secure, and I believe there's nothing wrong. Like, if Biden won legitimately, here's the difference between me and the left in 2016. I will say Biden is my president. I'm not going to say Trump's not my president because you disagree with what he says. You know, he'll be my president. But I believe for the good of the country that we need to do everything we can to make sure when Trump does concede that their vote mattered. Okay, because this is a whole different election with all these mail-in ballots. And when I say that, what do you say to that?
Yeah, so hold on. I'm just taking notes so I can make sure I can be thorough here when I say that. So, like, this is my feeling about all this. So first, okay, I mean, I want to go in saying I knew ahead of time Trump had this whole playbook mapped out. Before he knew anything about the mail-in ballots, he was like, this is going to be fraud. If I lose election, it's going to be fraud. We should only do the count on election day. And this is part of the reason why I don't like Trump. Right. Is because, listen, man, like, you don't know anything. You're just spinning this bullshit lie because you're creating an excuse ahead of time. And this is like irresponsible because you're the motherfucking president.
I agree.
Okay. But let me answer your question because that's a totally separate point.
Yeah.
So here's your question. The goal is to maximize, in my opinion, legitimate, fair votes. We're in a democracy. I'm going to say right now, I don't like the way Republican strategy has become to, like, basically suppress the vote as much as possible. You know, and I don't want to get it too much into that, but that's how I feel. But that said, we should have a fair election where people have one vote and it's counted and it's made as easy as possible for people to have one vote, but that it's fair and we have enough rigor so that people aren't doing more than one vote.
Right.
So in this election, whether or not it's a completely fair argument, I don't know, but it seems like a reasonable argument that because there's been more mail-in ballots than ever, and because the sitting president, for better or worse, has called this into question, and not only him, but like 40% of the country thinks this might be a problem, we should just count the votes and audit the election and just see who won.
Exactly.
And that way, whoever won, it's going to be as rigorously determined as possible. And then once it's determined, basically, other than like the super crazy, listen, if Trump ends up losing and it doesn't change the vote very much at all, which is what I'm expecting, then all the like maybe super crazy people who would like follow Trump like lemmings off the cliff, they're never going to change their mind. Right. But like most Republicans will be like, okay, fine. Like Trump's a fucking nut job and I guess he's out. Right. I never liked him that much anyway. And at least we have the Senate probably, as long as they hold one of those Georgia seats.
That's the thing that's important to me anyways.
You know, so that's how I feel about it.
Right. That's plenty fair. All right, listen, we're going to open up the phone lines. We're going to take about 5 phone calls and then we'll let you out of here. So hang on one second.
The Mouthpiece.
If you'd like to take part in our phone call segment, you can give us a call at 702-329-0480. And if you're a snowflake or a pussy and you don't want to talk to me, you can email me at mouthpiecepodcast@gmail.com. Also, follow me at the Mouth Matiso on Twitter for times that our call-in segment will be live. Call me now, me and Brian Rast, 702-329-0480, 702-329-0480. Give us a call. Welcome to the Mouthpiece. This is Mike and Brian Rast. How's it going?
Hey guys, how you doing?
We're doing good, man. How are you?
Good, good. I'm just wondering, your guys' thoughts about the big online / in-person World Series of Poker main event championship coming up.
Oh yeah, I was going to touch on that. We will hang up with you and we'll answer it off the air. I appreciate the call.
Okay.
So that's a good question. I saw that come out yesterday. I said to myself, what is this, another money grab? We've had 2 main events. Listen, I said it earlier on the show. Listen, if I was running the WSOP, I'd do whatever I can to make as much as I can. But to me, it seems like another money grab. What's your opinion on it?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, it's kind of fun to have an event, but I probably agree with you. They're probably grabbing money. But to be honest, if so, when people play, God bless it.
Exactly.
I don't know how I feel about the online bracelet thing anyway.
Yeah,
I
think
just don't
it's terrible.
really care.
Yeah.
You know,
Listen, the bracelet's been watered down for 10 years, 8 years, at least the last 5. Well,
adding in the Europe and Asia stuff is a little crazy.
Yeah.
Tournaments have. I traveled to one of them one time. I went to Europe. The one time it was in Berlin, like with my wife. Me?
Yeah. Oh. All right. Yeah. Hey. Hold on one second. Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
You there? Brian, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. We got another caller on the line. Hey, welcome to the Mouthpiece. This is Mike and Brian. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
Hey.
This is Sammy Hold'em from the chat. I just wanted to know, Mike, do you have pants on?
Oh, do I have pants on? Yeah. Why?
Can you stand up and prove it?
No, I'm not going to stand up. Here, you want me to stand up? Here's my dick right here, buddy. No. Yeah, I got my pants on.
All right.
Please tell me that was a bet.
I don't know what that was.
Please tell me you had a bet on that.
I don't
know.
Fucking, I should have fucking came up and whatever. That was pretty funny, but yeah. So no, I like you said. I'm not a bit. I mean, like, and the funny thing, like people are saying, it's like, so wait a minute. So you're gonna play to the final table in Europe, the final table in New Jersey, and then you're in Nevada. And then and then they're gonna play them live. Like there's no air travel in and out of this country. How do they plan to fly them here on private jets? I guess so. Welcome to the Mouthpiece. This is Mike and Brian Rast. What's up?
Hey, Mike. This is the real Sammy Hold'em from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. How are you guys doing? I got a couple questions on the state of poker.
Go ahead.
First question. Truthfully, because you guys are in Las Vegas, or you're in Las Vegas, you guys are players, you guys know insiders. Will poker more than likely come back for the smaller player live? 1-2 no limit, 1-3 no limit, 2-5. Are those days gone, or do you think people will come back to the casinos sooner or later?
Well, what? All right. We'll both answer that off the air.
Aren't they back? Isn't it back now? I mean,
Yeah.
I've walked in Bellagio a couple times. I haven't played there yet, but my understanding is I see games going.
Yeah, there's games going. I mean, I've walked through there too. I've got to be, because I have underlying conditions, so I got to be careful. But it seems like these rooms have been pretty packed. We'll hang on one second, sir. So these rooms have been pretty packed. And even my my massage therapist, she's been working part-time over at South.
Hello?
Yeah, well, just a second, sir. Been working part-time over at the South Point, and they're playing 1-3, 2-5, no limit.
Mikey.
So, yeah, I think it's back already, and I think after the pandemic, it'll return for sure. Welcome to the Mouthpiece. This is Mike and Brian. What's up?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good, man. Lower your volume in the background, bud.
Sorry, man. I didn't know it was on the monitor. It must be delayed, is it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Big time fan here from Prince Edward Island, Canada. I'm not sure if you know where that is.
No, they kicked me out of Canada.
I'm in Canada.
Okay, cool.
Is that all right with you, Mike?
Yeah, no, they kicked me out of Canada. They told me I was criminally inadmissible about
I'm
8
not
years
allowed
ago.
in America either.
There you go. So we got something in common, man.
Same reasons. No, but it's a small province. Benny Chung, he won the Millionaire Maker in 2019.
Yeah.
He's from PEI here. Like we only have one. We don't even have a casino here. We have a Racino.
Cool, man.
Just thought never thought I'd actually get through, man. I've watched every stream since you started playing poker there.
I appreciate it, man.
You've been doing pretty good, no matter what they say.
Yeah, I play these people like we were talking earlier. They do all these solvers. They put all these hours. I just show up and I'm always one card away from having a shot to win. So I'm luckily for me, I'm naturally talented. Same with Brian, he's naturally talented, and there's a lot to be said about natural talent compared to people that are become good poker players just because they study computer software. So. You got any questions for us?
I remember the last time I talked to you, and this is fun. Do you remember back in the good old days, the Full Tilt, where you could go on the website and ask the pros questions?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I remember one day I was 19 back then. I had a good run. I'm 33 now. I had a good run from like 18 to 20 back in the good days, right?
Yeah.
Like back, PokerStars or Full Tilt would send me my check. My bank wouldn't hold it, and now So I remember I was young and dumb. The question I asked you, is it still true? I asked you, what was the biggest orgy you ever had, Mike? And you told me 7.
Yeah, that's about right. I was a little crazy in the early 2000s. I'm not gonna lie. I had a lot of fun.
I got some advice for you now, Mike. If you could help me, if I could ask you one more thing before you let me go, for my poker advice.
Okay.
So this is I'm a small stakes player. Here on live, I can only play 1, 2, 5, 5, or $60 tournaments. I'm an online player, and I play like anything for I'm playing American dollars anywhere from $4 to $15.
Right.
The big MTTs, and I've been playing. I played 3 tournaments with about 280 people. It was about a $6 American buy-in, 3 tournaments in a row. I went from 13th to first. I can, in those tournaments you got to hit the top 3 to even have anything.
That's all tournaments you have to hit the top. Right? Yeah, all tournaments you got to hit the top 3. That's why Phil. One thing, as much as people like to rip on Phil for a lot of mistakes he makes, but he taught me this many years ago, which is when you got a lot, so many people, they'll have the chip league going to the final table and they'll just try and put the gas pedal on 9-handed, 8-handed, 7-handed, and it's one of the biggest mistakes people make. And you just need to, when it's 9, 8, and 7, you got to play pretty solid and make sure you get in that top 3, and then you can start playing poker. And that's what he taught me about many years ago, and I'll stick with that. And I think it's been very profitable. So, anyways, we got a lot of calls we got to get. All
right,
I appreciate the call.
I just want to say good action on. It's a disgrace that no matter how good Doug Polk is, for Daniel Negreanu to be a 4-1, that's taking right now. That's in the NFL picking Kansas against the Jets.
Yeah,
everybody, you know what I mean? It's the same. It doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah, and I got 10-1 2 days ago, and right now, Trump is 10-1 to win the election, and Trump has 0 chance. I got 10-1 on Daniel 2 days ago, and he's in the lead. So, who knows? Maybe I'll have 0 chance. But
hey, speaking about the Trump thing, I actually
I'll knock on wood for you, Mikey.
You got it. Take care. Go ahead, Brian. What were you saying?
I bet I basically bet at minus 600 a few days ago. I bet about like 1710, just over 100K to win like just under 20K, something like that.
So it's like stealing. You can't lose.
Yeah, 6-1. I mean, that was like, I can't even believe this. It feels like it's 20-1 or worse. So
yeah, I think the true odds are probably. Well, here's the thing. Well, let's answer this question. If he didn't lose Arizona, the true odds were probably around 6-1. But with Arizona being gone, they're probably 100-1 right now.
It's
so
tough.
yeah. Welcome to the Mouthpiece. This is Mike and Brian Rast. What's up?
Is this me?
Yo, what's up, man? Who's this?
Hey, all right. Hey, this is Carlos from Atlantic City.
Hey, Carlos, how's it going, man?
Okay, so reason I'm calling, first time calling on the. I think the whole Trump thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think you don't realize you think the whole media, like today you tweeted about every local announcer saying the first opening line.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Sinclair Media meeting the day before.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Sinclair Media is actually a right-leaning, company, not advertising, media company. So that's very. I think that. How would I say that you think that everything's a conspiracy? That's not a conspiracy.
I don't think everything's a conspiracy. I just know how dishonest the media is on both sides. Fox is just as dishonest, but the CNNs and the MSNBCs, they literally make up a story. I could literally like me and Daniel, we made a bet a couple weeks ago that we're going to sit down and we're going to spend 2 hours a day together watching left-wing and right-wing media, and he wants to bet me that the right-wing media is going to be way more lies than the left-wing media. To me, I'm going to bet as much as he wants because I could show him how the media spins things, and this is why it's like, see, people like to say like, okay, so how many people watch Fox News? Let's just say 15 million
I actually
people.
do, just to get both sides of it.
Yeah, it's that's good, and I respect you for that. Maybe 15 million people, but 73 million people voted for this guy, and people need to understand why. Because yes, has he said he said so many repulsive things where I've literally cringed and said, how can he say that? But a lot of people on the right, they're like, well, we love him for it because he talks like we talk, and he's not a typical politician that just spins shit. Because when you're hearing most politicians talk, you're basically, all they are is glorified fucking lawyers who went to law school and could talk perfectly. So of course they're going to make you hear everything perfect, So for those are the flaws they like about him. But to me, being Mike the Mouth, who has no filter. I mean, Trump puts me in the trash can when it comes to filter. I mean, you're the president of the United States. You got to have a fucking filter. So that's my problem.
Well, he's 0% presidential, that's for sure. But here's the thing. I have a little bit of inside info on Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so besides for years, he has been telegraphing that he was going to contest this election. Unless it was a runaway, he was going to contest. He was saying it when he was with Hillary.
In all fairness, Biden said the same thing.
That for 6 months,
right?
That he was gonna put his lawyers. Now Trump has a history of using lawyers. Like I've been grinding in Atlantic City for over 20 years.
But again, I'm gonna have to stop you there. I got to stop you there because both sides had 1,000 lawyers lined up. Hillary Clinton says, do not concede under any circumstances. Both sides were going to contest this election no matter what happens. So don't just say it was Trump. That's all. Go ahead.
When you know Trump is gonna contest it no matter what, you have to be ready, right? Yeah. You're not going to be the side that's not going to have lawyers ready.
Yeah, of course. Both sides.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing that I know about Atlantic City. He had plenty of contractors help him out with the Taj, the Plaza.
I know the whole story. I know the contractors he screwed. I know all those stories.
Yeah, he stiffed many of them over. And also, I'm from New York City, and I have history of family members telling me that the Trump family wouldn't lease to minorities. They just wouldn't. They basically their whole left rack area, the whole couple other buildings, couple even in Midtown when he started moving into Manhattan.
Listen,
he just wouldn't.
This thing is there. I tell people all the time. Maybe Brian wants to chime in here on his feelings, but if you want to say to me, Trump is a terrible leader. He was exposed during the pandemic that he didn't know how to lead. I will say to you, you know what? You're right. He doesn't deserve to be elected because he's a terrible leader. If you want to say that during a time of crisis where the country was scared whether they're going to live or die because you had, nobody knew what the virus was in March, and that he couldn't address the nation to keep everybody calm, I will say for that, he doesn't deserve to be reelected. But if you want to say he's a racist, I'm going to just say what I tell every one of my liberal friends. Name one thing racist he's ever done. And they never can. They never can.
Hold on. I want to chime in.
Go ahead.
First, it's more than he just, didn't communicate. He literally lied to the country because his number one fucking goal is stock market number go up, and was like, I can't fucking tell people that this is as serious as it is. Not that some people have overblown it and some people are underblowing it, but Trump purposely, this came out in the fucking Bob Woodward interview, basically just fucking lied to everybody. Yeah. And that probably caused more people to die than it should have been, because he should have just been on the whole mask.
Absolutely right, Rast.
And the other thing I want to say, let me hold on, is the false equivalence. There is a false equivalence in saying the way Trump has dealt with this election is the same as Biden would have. That's not true, man. Trump was laying out the whole playbook ahead of time that mail-in votes are fraud and he's going to contest it. And yeah, maybe Biden would have contested it, maybe not. But Biden wasn't saying for sure he's going to, and there's no proof of that.
Right.
That's a false equivalence.
Okay. So in all fairness, I'll go out on the line and listen. People, the thing that's important that people need to know is, okay, we're all in agreement that Trump did what showed a lack of leadership. Trump's done a lot of shady things. That's we all know that, okay? But you need to ask yourself, and this is the most important thing to ask yourself. When 73 million people vote for somebody, what are you missing? And I think it's very important to see that the Democrat Party has abandoned the working class, and that whether you want to believe it or not, they have. And nobody wants to, and this is where Brian said earlier, nobody wants to hear for 4 years you're a racist, you're a xenophobe, you're this, that, because you support policies of the other party. And even now, when they lost all these seats in the Congress, and they're all in panic mode, knowing they're going to get smashed in 2022, they need to stop with the political correctness. Stop, even like the NHL guy got drafted by an NHL team. They fucking, in the fourth round, they dropped him because of a tweet he put out when he was in 8th grade. That's just ridiculous. The cancel culture and the demonization of people on the left is breaking this country to pieces. And if I was to ever vote Democrat, they're going to have to stop with the bullshit identity politics and tearing this country to pieces over something that a kid did fucking 8 years ago when he was fucking 14. That's all.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So listen, we appreciate the call. And
all right, thank you for your time, Rast. Thank you for the info on Bitcoin. Take care, guys.
You got it, buddy. Yeah. So that's kind of where I stand is the demonization of half the country, and you watch these media companies demonize. How do you demonize 73 million Americans? You should look out and say to that's 4 million more than Obama got.
Let's say this with the racist thing. It's definitely true that Trump, it's not cool that he basically didn't say yes. I reject the Ku Klux Klan and racism people. He kind of really drew that whole thing out with that and the Proud Boys. Does that legitimize it a little bit more than it should? Sure. But to say every of the 70 million people, just because a very small segment are racist, that means the other, 69 million people are racist.
That's ridiculous. Absurd. Hey, welcome to the Mouthpiece. You're on the phone with Mike and Rast. What's going on?
Hey, Mike. Hey, Brian.
Hey.
Sorry I got a couple of details that I'm missing from this story. See if you can help me out, Brian. You're playing on a cash game, Poker Go. It was on Poker Go in the studio a couple of years ago. And you make, some would say, a questionable play with the Omaha hand. You 3-bet or 4-bet, call it off. And the whole table's giving you a hard time. And you're trying to book action with a couple players at the table. I forget, it was not Zygmunt, but it was like one of the European. Do you remember the story or no?
I don't. Refresh me. Okay.
I don't have the hand. I tried to look it up before I couldn't like find it, but like you basically call it off with like ace high because you're pot committed, and like everyone's kind of giving you a hard time, and you're like, it's not as bad as you guys think it is. And that wasn't really the argument. It was more just like everyone was like kind of like not belittling you, but like needling you about it. And you're like trying to book a couple of the players, and no one's willing to do it. But one of the guys keeps going, no, you're so far ahead and above. Like he just says it like 10 times to you, and you just keep getting more angry and more angry every time he says it. It's like you're like, come on, book me. Like,
do you remember this, Brian, or no?
You know,
I don't remember very well. Was the person who was saying it like Sam Soverell? Maybe, or I don't remember.
Sam Soverell, I think
what's the
that
question?
name is right. I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to be like, yeah, because obviously it just sounds right. But the main point was he was not belittling. I keep using that word, but basically giving you a hard time about your play, and you keep saying crossbook me, and the guy's like no, and you go. He's like, you're so far ahead and above. Like basically, like your play's so far ahead and above, I can't even understand it. And long story short, me and my brother laughed so hard that night. I ended up making one of my screen names ahead and above, and
nice.
It's a good story that we laugh about. But I can't find the video right now. I'll try and find it.
Link it. Send it to me on Twitter because I want to watch this video again because I don't actually really remember it very well. But yeah, no, dude. Here's the thing.
I'll try and find it. If I find it, I'll send it to you. Yeah, it was good. It was, and of course, he didn't cross book you.
Yeah, I just think I'm just not a very big like shit talker. I mean, you can probably attest to this, Mike. Like,
it wasn't like you were like you did not start it by any means. You were like defending yourself and like, hey, bro, you think I'm that bad? Cross book me, and no one wanted to cross book you, of course, you know.
So,
but it was just so funny because he kept saying like, you're head and above, and that was getting you. It was like your friend getting angry, and you just keep poking him, and like he's getting more angry. But you're at like a poker table, where you can't like go out and fight or anything, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never see Brian. Brian getting angry is probably just when Brian talks shit and gets angry. That's like Brian. One thing Brian doesn't do is talk shit or get angry. He's like the nicest human you'll ever like. I never get angry, and I think Brian gets angry less than I get angry. So
I'll tell you what, it's happened a couple times in Bobby's room.
Yeah,
I believe it. Well, those people are so miserable, so I can understand you getting
a couple times in there. There've been a few times it's been drawn out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when I play poker, I basically never give people shit. I never tell people they play hands bad because, I mean, I don't really understand that.
Me
because
neither.
Here's the thing. Either they don't know that they played the hand bad, in which case, why would you tell them?
Right.
Or they do know, and just like, why be a dick for no reason to like someone? I don't know. That's not my MO. But like either other people, it's like their ego is like tripping so hard and they need to like masturbate and be like, oh, you play bad, I'm better than you.
Yeah.
Or they're just trying to be a dick for no reason, which either way, it's just annoying to me. And I just, it always bothers me because like I don't really do that with anybody. And so I like don't like it when people do it with me. And so I'm not surprised at all that my reaction was like, let's crossbook, you know, because that feels like something I would do in that spot.
Yeah. And you know what? But pre-2006, I talked a lot of shit because nobody knew how to play and I had fun doing it. But I never maliciously would talk shit. It would always be to people I would play with on a regular basis, not with any strangers. Like the only stranger I ever talked shit to was Raymer because he kept coming after me. But other than that, I just never did. And now people are so good that when you do play with players that are consistently making mistakes, I just don't understand telling them when they make mistakes. It makes no sense to me. So
it's people can't get over their own ego.
Yeah.
And like their need to like be validated by everybody at the table and like point out the one guy who's like playing bad over there, which is so dumb for so many reasons. Because especially if that guy's bad, like not even just teaching him.
Yeah.
But dude, some people you humiliate them, they like won't want to come back and play or not in your game or just it's really.
I agree with you. So like Phil tells me that I need to go back to talking more shit, and I disagree. I'm old. I'm older. I'm past that. You know, there's too many great players, so I just
you got to know your target.
Yeah.
there are going to be people, listen, I've definitely seen it. It's part of Antonio's thing. He likes doing it with people.
Yeah.
If you know your person and they're a person that can take it and you have that thing, it can kind of add to the.
Well, it's good for TV, if you know that person. But
yeah,
yeah.
You can't just do it to like some random person. Like that's stupid.
I agree.
Don't know. I think.
I agree.
If it's
100%.
something you know they're going to take it okay or whatever, that's something that's different,
Yeah, I agree. All right, man. I appreciate the call. We're gonna get take one or two more calls here. So
yeah, thanks guys. All right.
You're welcome. Yeah. So we'll take how many more? We have a couple more. Let's take two more, and then I'm gonna ask Brian about a couple more things, and we're gonna let him get out of here.
That guy brought up Bitcoin, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I tweet about all the time.
Hey, welcome to the Mouthpiece. You're on the line with me and Brian Rast. What's going on?
Hey, man. How's it going? It's Sam from Myrtle Beach. You guys doing all right?
Yeah, we're doing great, man. What's going on with you?
Good. Wanted to check with you guys on something. You two, I watch you guys play a lot, and you can answer this honestly. Have you ever played in these big tournaments, big games, where there's actual collusion? And collusion to me is cheating. Like when you get 2 or 3 guys backed by the same guy, they squeeze you guys. Have you guys been in that situation before where you know what happened but you can't prove it?
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and answer that off the air. I appreciate the call. Brian,
okay, thanks, man.
Brian,
appreciate that.
I'll let you play a lot more bigger games than me. I'll answer after you're done.
I mean, I feel like that having it be in a spot where I really thought people were colluding and squeezing me out of a pot. I can't say I've never felt that way before, but it's very rare.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been something that I've noticed a lot, but is it happening? I mean, I know in a lot of situations in poker, especially in the tournaments and people know each other and they're swapping action. Could it be happening? Could there be collusion? I know it came up in that one final table spot where it was like, it was a 3-handed thing. It was like the guy and his like fiance and the other person, I don't know. It isn't something that I've worried about a ton, but it has been in the back of my mind before. But actually spots where you're getting like raised out of pots, no, but I think it could be a lot more subtle than that. So let me give you a very subtle example of it. Let's say, 2 guys swapped action and they end up having a pretty decent amount of themselves compared to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
In No Limit, there's all these spots where it's like you have some hand that you're supposed to 3-bet like 20% of the time, or just like it's like a marginal 3-bet and maybe you do it once in a while. Like maybe that guy is like a little bit less likely to 3-bet the guy he has a piece of like deep in a tournament because you're kind of like you want that guy to pick up a pot, whereas you're like more likely to 3-bet the guy you have none of 20% of the time with the Jack 10 offsuit, like because you have none of that guy, and so it's like good for you if you pick up the pot.
Yeah,
and it's like you might even have this bias and like not even really know it because it's like in life everybody's biased towards things a little. It's hard not to be biased towards something that's good for you.
No, I agree.
Right? It's just so it's something in the back of my mind. How often has it happened where I felt like, whoa, it was definitely happening there? Like almost never. But I know it could exist and maybe it's out there and there's not that much you can do about it. So, it is what it is.
It's funny. Like in 2004, like Jawanda put me in the 25K Poker Players Championship, and I was playing this nub forever, right? And Jawanda raised the button, and I just felt he was weak, right? And I moved him my last money, which was probably about, 15 bigs with ace-5 of hearts. And he called me with 9-10 offsuit and beat me. And, of course, I'm ethical, and I'm like, how the fuck do you call me with that? Like, not only do you just call me with that hand, like, and he had, like, a lot of chips, but, like, why would you want to bust your guy? And he thought it was funny. So, that's why I deal with a lot of ethical people. I didn't find it funny. I was pissed, by the way. As far as like, I don't want to name any names, but there's been something that happened here a couple months ago that wasn't actual squeezing going on, but there was somebody in an 8-handed game staking 5 people in a private game, and nobody knew about it. I knew about it, which is why I didn't want to play in it. And then it came out and all hell broke loose. Listen, when you stake or take a piece of somebody, it's just very ethical to just tell the table, I've got 50% of this guy, I've got you know what I'm saying? This way the table knows. I think it's the most very important as long as that's done. But as far as colluding, squeezing, I've actually never dealt with it or seen it. So, but I will say in 2010, I was in Brazil, and for the Full Tilt Brazil poker tournament, and pre-party we went out to this mansion about a 2-hour drive from where we were staying, and upstairs there was like 300 computers in a room probably the size of the Bellagio poker room lined up. I go, what the fuck's this? They like, oh, we teach people how to play online poker here. And I'm like, give me a fucking break. That's when I knew there was a lot of kind of collusions going on in tournaments. But you know, now they've, you know, who knows? You know, I feel pretty safe. I only feel I was cheated one time, and it ended up I was cheated, and that was at the UB scandal. So whatever, you know.
Yeah.
We're done. Okay, cool. So we're done. We got all our phone calls in. Maybe somebody else will call while we're finishing up here. So let me ask you this. I've been. You're really good friends with Antonio. I haven't called him yet because I'm just saving it to bust his ass. How did you feel losing to Phil Hellmuth? Not once, not twice, but 3 straight times.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I haven't really had much of a conversation about it with him because, like, you know, now he's living in LA.
Yeah.
He's got 2 kids.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've had a few back and forths here. I think I mentioned it maybe, and he just didn't really like.
Don't worry, when I see him, I'm gonna fuck it. Because you know how Antonio is.
My feeling is this is like Antonio really felt like he held over Hellmuth.
Right.
Like I know he felt that way. He felt like I played many years because even like because Antonio, for people that don't know, like he, you know, he's not that young. He's a couple years older than me. He like came up playing cash in California. He's played with Hellmuth probably a number of times over the years. And like his feeling was like, you got this guy's number.
Right.
Right. And I mean, I guess it just like, whether or not you still feel that way, it definitely rewrites the situation. And it probably puts it inside of, you know, your own mind.
Yeah.
Like the guy just beat you 3 times heads up. So, you know, I'm sure it's something he's a little like,
when I see him, I'm gonna really give him a hard time because you know how Antonio loves to talk a lot of shit. So
Antonio's a person who, definitely.
He definitely needs to be ribbed. He definitely needs to be ribbed once fucking coronavirus.
He's like the worst loser. Not loser. He's the worst winner
ever.
Like he's my friend, but this is part of his whole shtick. His shtick to make it like fun to gamble with him because he makes you want to beat him.
Right.
Like, I've played backgammon with him before. I've never just been talked shit to so much across the backgammon board. It's like it feels so satisfying to beat him sometimes. Because he's such a dick.
Well, that's the same with Phil. Is like Phil's like the biggest nit in the world, but he gets paid because people just want to beat him. You know, instead of like going to want to beat him, just be patient. You know, and just take. And you got to whittle Phil down a little at a time because you can't just tell yourself you just listen. I played so many hours of Phil during COVID, right?
I'm good at no limit hold'em
for like 3 months straight, and you know, he was not playing well, and everybody was making fun of him, and we were beating him, and he was going crazy, and then we were playing on Poker RR where they have the microphone, and he'll be like. With the big microphone, and he'll be like going crazy, and everybody be like laughing, and he'll be like, you come after me, and we were all, and then we're on Zoom half the time, and we were just busting up, and it was just, I mean, I don't know how many times I almost pissed my pants because it's just, well, you know how Phil is, you know, and it's pretty funny.
Phil
but
his own shtick too.
Right.
Phil's shtick is he picks a few people at the table, usually the aggressive players, and he just like makes it personal.
Yeah.
Like, you're coming after me. Like, I'm going to show you. Right. And then, listen, my opinion is Phil then tries to gauge their response. Either he backs them off and is like, you know, get out of my lawn, bitch. And they agree. Or they're like, fuck you. And they come after him. Right. So he's like setting up a dynamic.
Exactly.
Is what I think Phil. And so when Phil's on, that works out. And he sets up the dynamic and he reads the dynamic and it works for him.
Right.
And when he's off, is sometimes you see that not work out,
right,
for whatever reason.
Yeah,
but yeah.
And the thing is unorthodox style that Phil has. What people need to understand also is just because they don't play solvers and play mathematically what the computer tells you doesn't mean they're not doing things right. Phil does so many things right in tournament poker that people don't agree with, but his result. I mean, we're going now in the 2020, and the guy has finished in the top 5 player of the year. What, 5 out of the last 6 years? So you can't. You need to reevaluate. I always used to say, if you think you're running over a really good player, you need to reevaluate your situation because, listen, I sat down with Phil. I said, listen, now that we've gotten really close since COVID, we were always good friends and acquaintances, but, ever since COVID, instead of talking once a week or once every 10 days or whatever, I mean, we talk every day, right? And if you try, the one thing, and this is, I call him the Donald Trump of poker because he just doesn't want to. I mean, his ego is so big, and his answer to me is, don't talk to me about poker. I know everything about no limit hold'em. You don't know anything, And I just believe in my heart, if Phil put in the work, like Daniel's putting in the work, with Phil's ability to read and is able to just not tell everybody he's the greatest, I think Phil would be a monster. But it's never going to happen because listen, it's just like Trump might never concede. It's like the thing is narcissism. I mean, Phil doesn't believe he's a narcissist, and he's not Donald Trump narcissism because Phil will admit when he's wrong. Where I do believe Trump would have been reelected if he had any kind of sympathy whatsoever. If he would apologize once in a while, saying, listen, nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. Let's work this out together. Let's get this through together and kind of humanize people. And the narcissism is his downfall, and he has nobody to blame but himself. His policies created the best economy ever for anybody. But there's a lot of people that love him for his brashness and for his outspokenness. I just don't believe. And as a Trump supporter, and I'm not a Trump supporter where I used to. I mean, during COVID, there's been times where I have thrown shit at the TV and just said, I am done, you dumb motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And but the thing is like, you gotta be a good-hearted person. He thinks that apologizing is weakness. No, apologizing and showing some remorse is human. And that's I think that's. He's got nobody but himself to blame for the election loss, and he's going to blame everybody else because even I knew that he would, and I knew he was going to lose. I had a $5,000 bet that I made in March, and I was trying to get off of it. I gave somebody 2-1 on Trump for $1,000. I was so sure he was going to lose, and then I bet Trump to win Florida for $2,000 because I was so sure he'd win Florida. So I was going to only lose $2,000 on the election, and then my good buddy Phil told me that Trump would concede by 11:15 p.m. on this past Thursday, and that was 2 days after the election. And I bet him $3,000 at even. Then I laid 13 to 1,000 for another 1,000, and then I laid 3-1 about another day later for another 1,000, and I beat him out of 5. So I ended up winning 3,000 on the election. So it was pretty fun, but whatever. Well, Brian, listen, man, thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it. I know that you are not only, in my mind, one of the top 5 players in the world overall, but one of the top 5 best human beings in poker. And I just want everybody to know that, and that's how I feel. And I wish you all the best and success with you and your family and going forward. So.
Yeah, actually, my wife just walked in the room. Come here. She just walked in. I'm going to introduce her. This is my wife, Juliana.
Hi,
we celebrated our 9th wedding anniversary, 9 years, yesterday.
9? So, yeah, that's right. It was a year before I met my girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
9 years. You think playing poker is hard.
No.
Being married for 9 years is tougher.
It's tougher.
But you know what? I love my wife. She's amazing. And you know what? I appreciate everything you said about me, and none of that would be true if it wasn't for my wife.
I
So
believe
you need somebody in your life to help you grow and help you realize when you mess up. So
my girlfriend hates my guts, so but see, you got something good going for you. Nah, she's all right. I'm just kidding. She's all right. So listen, I wish you the best with everything, Brian. Now that I somehow didn't have your number before, we'll keep in contact. We'll shoot the shit, and I wish you all the best. And thanks for coming on the Mouthpiece. And take care.
Sure thing, brother. Thank you for having me. All right, and peace to everybody out there.
Bye.
You got it. Thank you so much. All right, great.
Bye.
So that was Brian Rast. I truly believe Brian is a top 5 overall poker player in the world. I mean, if you add in his tournament play, his no limit play, and his ability to become one of the best mixed games player, playing mixed games is not easy. He learned in the biggest games. I learned in the biggest games. They threw me right in the 2-400 game, and I think I lost like $300,000 right away learning how to play mixed games. And but once you learn how to play mixed games, it really is hard to go back to no limit hold'em. I've been playing mixed games for 15 years, and during COVID, I went back to no limit hold'em because of the fact that the games were no limit, and I was getting invited to some really juicy games, and so it was a lot of fun. And I improved my game, and I really feel like my no limit game is just really good now, and so I've improved it a lot, and so when you don't play no limit for 15 years, it really feels good. So, all right, so now we're gonna go to our pick of the week. We had a winning week last week. We had Buffalo over Seattle. We were getting 3. They won outright easily. That was I've been saying all along, the Seattle team is garbage. They have the second worst defense in football. Russell Wilson has to play good or they don't win. They had 5 turnovers. They still put up 34. That wasn't enough because their defense is an atrocity. So I've narrowed my 2 games of the week down to 2. One is Miami minus 2.5 over the Chargers. Now the Chargers are 2-6, and they literally should be 7-1 or 6-2. And I blame coaching. They have found a way to literally lose 4 consecutive games on the last play of the game. I mean, how many losses can this team take like this? So I'm a little bit leaning towards Miami, but Miami's coming off a big win. The line's 2.5. Well, the line's 2.5 at home. When the Chargers are going to the East Coast, and the line doesn't look right, I usually stay away from that. So I'm going to stay away from that, and I'm going to go with a team. One team coming off a bye, another team coming off a win. And this is in the NFC East. The Giants had the game against Philly, literally locked up the last game. They gave it away. They are now playing for their season. And the Giants, I don't care what you say, if you've watched them, they are improving every single week. Two games, they won last week. The 2 games previously, they gave away, including one was against Philly. You're getting 3.5 with the Giants. I don't think the Eagles are 3.5 point better than any team in football. If they win, they go to 3-7, and Philadelphia would then be 3-5-1, and basically they'd be a half game behind them for the division. It's a must-win game for the Giants. The Giants' offense is looking a lot better. The team's playing a lot better. I like the Giants plus 3.5 as my pick of the week. We are 4-5 after booking a win last week. So hopefully we'll get to 5-5. So that's about it. Great show today, buddy. Remember, email mouthpoker@yahoo.com. Mouthpoker@yahoo.com. Play in my private home game. Receive $250 in chips for $200. The games are real good right now. So I don't know how long they're going to be good for because the good players usually win all the money shortly. But we are kicking it over there. I appreciate it. We'll see you all next week for episode 58 of the Mouthpiece Podcast. Thanks for calling in. We'll see you all later.